You are not waiting for money, you are aligning with it. There is a moment, known only to the soul, where the outer evidence begins to echo the inner conviction. The world may not see it yet. Your bank account may still argue against it. But something deep within you knows it is already done. And when it is done within, it must show itself without. Let us begin with this. Money comes to the one who no longer needs it to feel wealthy. When you assume the state of wealth, before any dollar touches your hand, you have already received. So what are the signs? First, you begin to feel complete. Not later, but now. A sense of peace descends upon you. You wake up without anxiety. You walk without the heaviness of lack. It's not that money has come, it's that you've already accepted it inwardly. The universe responds not to need, but to embodiment. Second, synchronicities appear. You overhear someone speaking about abundance. You notice repeating numbers like 1111 or 888. You bump into an old friend who mentions an opportunity. These are not accidents. They are reflections of the vibration you have shifted into. They whisper, it's already on the way. Third, you stop chasing. You let go. Not from defeat, but from understanding. You realize that you are not the beggar knocking on the door of wealth. You are the house itself. You are the source. What you once pursued now pursues you. Fourth, you may feel tested. Old doubts rise like shadows before dawn. Your mind tries to convince you it's not working. Good. That means the old story is dying. Don't fight it. Watch it fade, knowing that you are not your past. Fifth, you feel rich before you are rich. Not in a delusion, but in dominion. You imagine buying what you want. You feel the freedom. You walk as if every step is backed by unseen wealth. The world begins to rearrange itself to reflect that. Lastly, you begin to trust silence. You no longer need proof. You no longer need reassurance. You've entered the Sabbath, the state of rest. And from this rest, miracles are born. So pay attention, not to the outer world, but to the inner whispers. They will tell you when it is done. And when it is done within, it will be done without. Let those who have ears hear. You begin to feel satisfied, deeply satisfied, as if the money has already arrived, even though nothing has changed in the outer world. This feeling is not forced. It rises gently within you, like the warmth of the morning sun through your window. It's not rooted in your senses, your circumstances, or the balance in your bank account. It is something more subtle, more powerful. It is the knowing that what you asked for has been granted, and the evidence, though not yet visible, is on its way. With certainty, this feeling is sacred. It doesn't make sense to the logical mind. The mind may argue, but look at the bills, look at the numbers, and yet something deeper within you says, I already have it. You are no longer looking around for signs. You are no longer trying to make it happen. You simply know the chase has ended. The worry is gone. There's nothing to fix, nothing to beg for. You are no longer vibrating at the frequency of lack, but at the frequency of fulfillment. And because of that shift, the physical must follow. This inner completion is the creative act. It is the place where manifestation is born. When you feel as if it is already done, you withdraw your attention from the absence of it. You no longer ask when or how. Those questions dissolve because the feeling of already having it is more real to you than the outer world. You're not pretending. You're not trying to convince yourself. You are experiencing in consciousness the reality of your desire. And that experience is as real as touching it with your hands. Most people are waiting for the outer to change so they can feel differently. But the secret is this: when you feel differently, the outer must change. This is the great reversal. You feel prosperous and then you are prosperous. You feel rich before money appears. The world echoes back what you accept inwardly. And when you walk through your days with a quiet sense of financial peace, the world begins to respond with open doors, unexpected opportunities, and sudden provision. You may begin to smile for no reason. You may feel light and joyful even when nothing external has improved. That is the sign. That is the evidence that the seed has taken root in consciousness. This satisfaction, this inner rest, is the bridge between desire and fulfillment. You are no longer creating from desperation but from certainty. You have entered the Sabbath, the spiritual rest that knows it is finished. This feeling of completion is not a technique. It is a state of being. And once you enter it, you cannot be denied. The world will mold itself to fit your inner acceptance. Let this be your work, not striving, not chasing, but returning again and again to that quiet joy, that peaceful knowing. It's already mine. When you feel it, you'll know. And when you know, it must appear. When the current of your inner world begins to change, the outer world responds. You begin to see signs, patterns, repetitions, little moments that seem too perfect to be random. These are synchronicities. They are not coincidences, and they are not meaningless. They are the visible language of an invisible process. They speak in numbers, in symbols, in encounters that seem ordinary but are anything but. These moments are evidence that something deep within you has shifted, and now reality is starting to catch up. You may begin noticing repeating numbers: 111, 222, 888. These are not just numbers, they are like gentle taps from the universe, reminding you that you're in alignment. Something is moving, unseen but powerful. Or perhaps you think of someone and they suddenly call. You overhear a stranger say something that answers a question you were silently asking. You find yourself at the right place at the right time, not because of luck, but because you are being guided by a force greater than logic. These are not isolated events. They are echoes of a change within you. Synchronicities are feedback. They confirm that you've moved into a new frequency. When you begin to embody wealth, feel abundance, and live in the end of your desire, the outer world begins to mirror that change back to you. It's like dropping a stone into still water. The ripples spread out and eventually return to the point of origin. What you put out in consciousness begins to return in form. You may not see the money immediately, but the signs show up first. These signs are the early fruits of an inner harvest. There is no need to analyze them or try to force their meaning. Just notice. Acknowledge them with gratitude. They are saying, keep going. They are like road signs on the journey, reminding you that you are on the right path even if the destination isn't in view yet. The more you notice, the more they seem to multiply. This is not a trick. It is the natural unfolding of consciousness into form. The external is catching up with the internal. You may even feel a subtle nudge to act, to call someone, to go somewhere you hadn't planned. Follow it. These intuitive prompts often lead to the next step in your manifestation. They are not random ideas. They are instructions from your higher self guiding you toward what is already yours. Do not ignore them. Move with trust. The outer world is not leading you. You are leading it. These signs are not magic. They are mechanics. The world moves by law, not luck. And when your inner world shifts, the law responds. So when synchronicities begin to multiply, smile. You are witnessing the universe rearranging itself around your new vibration. You are not hoping anymore, you are knowing. And reality is simply falling in line with the truth you have already accepted. Keep going. You're closer than you think. There comes a moment, often unnoticed by others, when you begin to feel calm in the middle of chaos. The bills may still be there, the uncertainty may still surround you, and yet you are still. You are no longer reacting. You're not fighting the storm, nor are you afraid of it. Something within you has become quiet, steady, and unshakable. This is not denial. This is alignment. This is the peace that arrives when you know something greater is at work, even if the outer world hasn't caught up yet. This calmness is not the result of everything going right. In fact, it often shows up just before everything begins to shift. It's a deep inner knowing that the bridge of events is unfolding. You don't need to know how. You don't even need to see signs. You simply feel the truth of it. Everything is working together for your good. The chaos around you, rather than being a threat, becomes part of the unfolding path. You stop seeing the problems as problems, you recognize them as rearrangements. The pieces are moving, not against you, but for you. You may still hear doubts whispering in your mind, but they no longer hold power. You've tasted something deeper, a confidence that isn't based on logic or evidence. It's spiritual. You don't feel the need to explain it to anyone. In fact, most people wouldn't understand. They are still measuring reality by what they can see, touch, and control. But you've gone further inward. You found a place where the outer world no longer dictates your inner state, and from that place you begin to create. This unusual calmness is a sign that you've accepted your desire as already fulfilled. You're no longer reacting from lack. You've entered the state of the wish fulfilled, and in this state you stop needing things to look a certain way. You stop resisting what is. You understand that appearances are temporary, and truth is eternal. The truth is, what you desire is already yours in consciousness. And so the bridge of events, the necessary steps between the invisible and the visible, has begun. You may watch relationships shift, jobs end, opportunities fall through, but you no longer panic. You understand that things fall apart to fall together. You know that the universe is not punishing you, it's preparing you. The calmness you feel is not passivity, it's power. It's the power of knowing that you've planted the seed and now the soil is doing its work. You no longer dig it up to check. You trust. The bridge of events may not always be gentle, but your reaction can be. You walk through the noise with silence in your soul. You face the storm with a smile, not because the world is perfect, but because you are. This peace means you've shifted, and the outer world, like a shadow, will soon follow. So when you find yourself calm during chaos, do not question it. Embrace it. It means the breakthrough is already underway. There is a moment, often quiet and unannounced, when you lose the urge to chase. You stop looking for proof. You stop refreshing your bank account. You no longer search the skies for signs because something has shifted within. You have become the sign. You walk differently, think differently, speak differently. Not because you're trying to attract money, but because you now feel as if it's already yours. The old habits of need and desperation dissolve, and in their place comes stillness, confidence, and ease. Chasing is always rooted in the belief that you are separate from what you desire. But when you no longer see money as something out there to pursue, you understand the truth. It flows from you, not to you. You stop chasing because you now know. You know that what you want is not only possible, it is inevitable. You've claimed it inwardly, and so you relax. You become still, not passive, but powerful. The stillness is not inactivity, it's alignment. It's the evidence that you have entered the state of already having. The feeling of lack is gone. You don't need to hustle for attention or force outcomes anymore. You realize money is not the source, it's the reflection. And once the source within you is awakened, the reflection must appear. You let go of urgency. You release the compulsion to control. You stop trying to manipulate the outer world to give you something. Instead, you radiate the vibration of already having it. And money, like a moth to a flame, is drawn to that inner certainty. When you lose the urge to chase, you also lose the fear of not having. Scarcity no longer dictates your thoughts. You don't ask where is it or when will it come, because you no longer feel the absence of it, you walk in the fullness of it. And from this place, strange things begin to happen. Opportunities appear, people show up. Money flows in ways you didn't expect, not because you chased it, but because you allowed it. You become magnetic, not through effort, but through embodiment. You don't try to convince anyone of your worth. You don't announce your plans or seek approval. You simply are. You live from the end. You no longer talk about money as a future goal. You speak as one who already possesses. You are no longer waiting for life to begin. You're already living it. And the world responds. It must. The law is simple. What you accept inwardly becomes your outer world. So when you stop chasing money, it starts chasing you. Not because you ignored it, but because you embodied it. You aligned with the feeling of already being provided for. You stepped into the frequency of abundance, and the physical reality bowed in response. You don't need to ask for signs when you are the sign. You are the evidence that your inner world has shifted. And when that happens, you don't follow money, it follows you. Just before abundance arrives, something unexpected often happens. Your old fears begin to surface. The thoughts you thought were long gone, the doubts you believed you had buried rise to the surface with new intensity. Worries about not having enough, shame around past decisions, guilt about receiving, and the deep-rooted belief that you are somehow unworthy of wealth may all come forward. This is not regression, it is release. It is the final cleansing before the new state fully settles in. You see, the mind does not give up its limitations easily. As you rise in consciousness and align with abundance, anything unlike abundance must be brought into the light. It is not punishment, it is purification. Your inner world is being prepared to receive, and that means clearing the debris. Old stories, inherited beliefs, and emotional residues you've carried for years suddenly come up, not to hold you back, but to be seen and let go. You may find yourself questioning again, am I really worthy of this? Will it last? What if I lose it all? These questions are echoes from the past, from a version of you that lived in survival, not in creation. You are not that person anymore. But the final remnants of that old identity must be allowed to rise so they can fade. They do not need to be fought. Simply acknowledged, let the fear come, watch it, feel it, and then let it pass. The moment you stop resisting these fears and start observing them, you reclaim your power. You understand they are not truth, they are memory. And memories can be rewritten. Each time you feel fear and choose not to act from it, you weaken its grip. Each time you feel doubt but continue in faith, you rewrite the script of your life. This is how you rise, not by avoiding the shadow, but by walking through it with light. There is a reason these fears appear just before the breakthrough. You are stepping into a new version of yourself, and that version cannot carry the weight of the old. If you hold on to the fears, you delay the manifestation. But if you bless them for showing up and gently release them, you create space. Space for abundance, space for clarity, space for the reality you've already claimed within. You don't have to be perfect to receive. You simply need to be present. Present enough to feel what's coming up without judgment. Present enough to trust that what is leaving you now is leaving because it no longer belongs. These fears are not signs that something is wrong. They're signs that something is right, that something is changing, that the shift is real and the abundance is near. So when fear rises, welcome it like a guest that has stayed too long. Let it speak, let it cry, and then let it go. What comes after is peace. What comes after is power. And what comes after is the life you've imagined, ready to arrive, now that you've made room for it. There comes a quiet shift within, a moment when money stops feeling like something outside of you, something to chase or earn approval for. It becomes familiar, not in a boastful or delusional way, but in a calm, steady sense of knowing. You begin to see money differently, no longer as a symbol of struggle, scarcity, or lack, but as something natural, like breath, like sunlight, something you are allowed to receive. You notice how your inner conversation around money begins to change. The fear that once whispered, "It's too hard," or "There's never enough," fades into silence. In its place, a new voice arises, gentle but certain. "I'm supported." You begin to feel at home with the idea of wealth. You imagine holding it, using it, blessing others with it. And though nothing in the outer world may have changed yet, your inner world is becoming rich with possibility. This shift is not about arrogance, it's about resonance. You're not pretending to be wealthy. You are learning how to feel it before you see it. You're developing a relationship with money that is no longer rooted in lack or longing, but in harmony. You begin to respect it, not worship it. You invite it, not demand it. You understand that it's energy responding to your state, not a prize given for suffering or sacrifice. As you continue to think of money as familiar, your senses become involved. You picture it not in abstraction, but in vivid detail. You see it flowing to you, resting in your hands, filling your accounts. You imagine the decisions you'd make, the peace you'd feel, the generosity you'd express. These are not idle daydreams. They are creative acts. They impress upon your subconscious a new truth. I have money. It is natural for me to have it. And the world begins to reflect that inner conviction. Small things shift. You find unexpected money, discounts, invitations, new opportunities. People begin treating you differently because you are radiating a new energy, one of sufficiency, not scarcity. You are no longer tense or tight when it comes to money. You've let go of the fear, and so it begins to come without resistance. Money becomes a language you speak fluently in your imagination. You are no longer embarrassed to think of wealth. You no longer shrink yourself or justify lack as virtue. You understand that abundance is not selfish, it is your birthright. And by embodying that truth, you become a clearer channel through which wealth can flow. You don't need to announce this transformation. It shows in your energy, it shows in the way you walk, the way you decide, the way you believe without needing proof. And soon the outer world cannot help but catch up. Because once money becomes familiar in your mind, it must become familiar in your life. The bridge of events begins to form. The opportunities appear. And you realize it was never about chasing money. It was about remembering who you are and claiming what was always yours. When you begin to truly understand the signs, you realize that wealth doesn't come from striving, it comes from alignment, from the quiet confidence of inner knowing, the feeling of completion before arrival, the multiplying synchronicities, the calm in chaos, the stillness that replaces chasing, the shift in how you see money. These are not accidents, they are signals, indicators that your inner world has shifted and reality is now responding. You no longer beg, you no longer wait, you no longer wonder if you're worthy. You know you are, and in that knowing, the world bends. The bridge of incidents unfolds. Money flows, not from effort, but from embodiment, from your decision to become what you once hoped to have. Trust the process. Trust the signs. Trust the quiet transformations happening within. They are leading you where you've already gone in imagination. Thank you for listening. Stay aware, stay aligned, and let abundance find you as it always intended to.